Hey everyone, welcome to Metal Connect. I'm Ken Rakowski of Metal. Every week we feature one of our incredible speakers, and they now have an hour to take us on a journey and wherever they want to take us. Today I'm honored to have one of my closest friends join us, somebody who I admire, his heart, his spirit, and his mind. Freddie Ravel is hanging out with us. He likes to always say he's the white guy from Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's just one of his many accolades. He has played with so many different bands, but let's really face it, himself is an incredible speaker, leader, and of course, he produces incredible music. Freddie Ravel, thanks a lot for hanging out with us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ken. It's good to be here with you, man.
How do you present yourself? If somebody says, what is Freddie Ravel's Speed to Cool? What is it?
What I do is I raise human potential through music. That's the real quick one. I believe it's the greatest language on the planet, and I think that we don't use it nearly enough. So I'm on a mission to maximize the use of it.
It's pretty audacious, actually, what you're saying. You're saying that what Stephen Kotner might say the flow state is you can do with music in a very similar way.
Absolutely.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You want to take that on?
Sure. Well, what is flow? Flow is getting into a state that is so fluid that you're beyond your body, you're beyond your mind, you're outside of your thoughts. It's a bit of nirvana.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So every one of us has a different type of beat that we all go to. None of us is the same. And if we say we are, that it might be different in some ways, but we really own our own beat. What is Freddie Ravel's beat?
I probably live somewhere around 120 beats per minute. That's kind of the most popular tempo for dance music.
Give us an idea. What's that sound like?
Boom, 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 boom. This is about 120. And it's just got a nice pulse. You know, we were talking about that Earth, Wind, and Fire has a great song called September. It's about... Right? It's got that... We usually also, in music, we call that 4 on the floor, which is boom, 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 boom. And it's a tempo that you can go into almost, let's say, pre-pandemic world, any disco on the planet, right? And that would be kind of the default. It's kind of where human beings like to party. It is sped up in the last 10 years. It's probably closer to 130 now.
That's interesting. You have a very unique partner. She is your better half. Does
Absolutely.
she play the same beat as you?
We are in great harmony. Simone and I are completely
You would
linked
say
up.
that she's at the 120 also?
Oh God, no. She and I can go down to like 75.
Well, what does that mean, going down to 75?
It can be very sensuous and very romantic.
Well, what is that 75? What is that 75? Would that be what? Is that a Barry White?
Yeah, no, 75 is even slower than Barry White. Barry White likes to hang out around 120. He's still there. Slower is more like, Stevie Wonder.
Let's get realistic. You just said...
Very romantic and lush.
But that's where you said you too live. You too can get down to 75. She's at a different beat than you. There's a reason why I'm bringing this up. Because if we all learn on we have EQ, IQ, MQ, BQ, but our EQ is supposed to allow us to connect to one another, to figure each other out.
Oh yeah.
And if we could figure each other's beats out, it would allow us to communicate better.
No question. I love that. I love that, Ken. You're kind of talking like, if we could figure out each other's musical profile. I'm with you. And I think you're right. And if we've isolated things like intelligent quotient and emotional quotient, and now maybe MQ, music quotient, that opens up a lot of stuff. Or at least, how about BPM quotient? What beat per minute do you operate at,
Again, we're throwing something out that I've never heard before, but that's why when I know your girl, and I think she operates at a faster beat. She's almost EDM at times.
Yeah,
Okay,
no, for sure.
And because of that, someone like you that's at 120 and she's at 130, 140, how do you guys connect? When you're in the car and you're playing music, who's the maestro?
I like to listen to what she wants to play. I like to listen. Now, but that has a lot to do with the fact that I love her musical tastes. You know, she was born in Brazil, and Brazilian music is some of my favorite music ever. Brazilian music is very sophisticated, and at the same time, it's got a lot of Africa in it. It's got if you were to describe it in terms of chakras, it's got root all the way to the top.
Hey, by the way, anyone, if you have a question, comment, or you just want to join in, just pop it right inside the chat, and let's have some fun, and I'll unmute you as we go into this. Now, why I brought this up regarding that language of beat, or whatever that connection is, we've lost the ability to communicate in this country, in this world maybe, in so many different areas. The genres, the political sides, whatever it is, there's like a barrier of communication. But music always seems to be the great unifier.
Totally.
I can say a Michael Jackson song and probably 90% of everybody could start singing that song.
Sure.
And we could unify under it. So is there a way to use what you know being music, not just to give us better performance and productivity, but to unify?
Yeah, there's certainly songs that, right now what comes to mind is John Lennon's Imagine, right? There's a song that everyone all over the world hears that song and they just go, wow, that's an amazing piece of music.
That's right. So
right?
Help us use music. I'm challenging now, Freddie, because you started right at the very beginning, a very audacious thing that you do. You use music to allow us to have better performance.
Yeah.
How about as a connection tool? How can we, as music novice, I'm lucky to play a note from my nose while when I got a cold. That's the closest I'm going to get to an instrument. How can someone who's a novice like myself and everybody else that watches this, how can we use music to connect?
Before we put it right into that definition, let's expand the definition of music itself,
okay.
Right? Is music just based on a Western opinion of the 12-tone scale? That's what the piano's based on. It's called equal temperament. Are we always thinking about classical music like Beethoven and Mozart and Bach? Or going all the way to American music like blues, rock, and soul and jazz? Or is music when you walk with Sandy on the beach and you're hearing the surf hit the sand and you hear the sound of seagulls? Is that a form of music? If any of our metal brothers goes up to the mountains and starts hearing the wind through the trees, which is one of my favorite sounds in the world, the sound of...
That's such a cool concept.
...of wind going through the pines and the evergreens, that incredible sound. That to me is a form of music too. So are we limiting our definition of music to do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do? Or I see my brother Richard Burke on the call. I mean, he loves the sound of an engine. You know, for him...
But I hear what you're saying. That's music to my ears, but that really isn't music. Those are sounds.
But for some people, they fall into a meditative state when they're at the ocean. I mean,
but that's not... And again, I'm not challenging you in a negative way. Because if you sit here and say, I want you to play me some music, you're not going to hear me start an engine or have the wind blow outside. Those are very cool sounds, but they're not music until you put something to it to where it creates some type of... Maybe I'm wrong. I'm the wrong guy to ask. I'm just listening to what you're saying because that means everything's music.
Well, that is the way I kind of operate. I hear music in all kinds of things. I mean, I on a daily basis, almost every once an hour, I turn to a direction and I hear something, and I make music out of it. I do it in the market. I do it in a parking lot. I do it at the beach. I do it in all kinds of ways. But I do have one thought. You know, I wrote a song a long time ago, about 25 years ago, that I did with an orchestra called Water.
Okay.
And that piece of music, everyone out there, you can see I have a keyboard here. And I'm going to play, the left hand is going to represent a very slow moving tide. floating on water. Now the melody. Something like that.
So what you did is, as an artist, you interpreted what water would sound like and you turned it into music that we could connect with. But that's what I'm talking about. That's that unifier right there.
There it is.
Your interpretation to a point of translation to where we could communicate. So now I get it. I'm hearing your water now, Freddie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do we turn that into a language? I want to go to Chris. Chris, you brought something up real quick. I'm going to unmute you. Chris, go for it. You asked your question regarding about bringing music to a new thought. What's your idea, Chris?
Hi, Freddie. So nice to meet you.
Hey, Chris.
So we can bring emotions up. We can bring concepts up and words up that people have heard before. Can we make music to bring completely new thoughts into an audience? And I'm asking because this morning I was in a very intellectual discussion that culminated in people really have to change their thought patterns from being individualistic to understanding we're all one. Yeah, we're one with Earth, we're one with the universe, which is a very strange alien concept. And I'm wondering if music can transport that.
What a question. That's a great question. I believe that it can. I believe that music is like any form of art. It allows us as human beings to have a new glimpse of something in a way that we may never have ever considered before, right? Music gives us that opportunity. When people are having disagreement or they're set in their ways, and that's what I'm hearing you're saying. Chris, if I understand you right, you're saying you were at a meeting today, everyone was kind of sticking to where their old patterns were, and towards the end of the conversation, there was a conclusion that we have to arrive at a change, that we have to change our behaviors to kind of adapt to this new, unusual normal that we find ourselves in. Is that right?
That's good enough, yeah.
Good enough, right? So go ahead, Ken.
If we look at Danny Elfman or Hans Zimmer, we have the visuals of whatever that movie is. Their job is to enhance it, to give it depth, something that we can't see, to give it broader meaning to it. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with it.
And if we turn off the visuals after seeing them once, the music allows us to bring it right back.
Yeah.
Right?
It depends on the energy that the scene they're writing for is. When I was thinking about Chris, I was thinking about dissonance, something that would be like my hand crashing into the keys right now, just letting my hand drop into the keys, like horrible, right? But if I take out if I remove some of these notes, I can be left with things that sound beautiful. Right now, it doesn't sound too good, right? But I could take out this note and I just took out one note. This one's the sour note, right? If I take out that last note and just work with this, I get. And if I put a different note in the bass, all we did is we took out one note. You know how like when you're working with an organization and you have 5 people coming together and there's one real sour voice, but the ideas are collectively really good. You just have to either remove the one sour voice or modify the energy of the sour voice and change their opinion, and then the entire team can move. Yeah. So this is the idea is that the keyboard can represent, this piano can represent 88 different notes that can be blended together to sound amazing, or they can be a disaster. If I go like this, it's not a lot of fun. The world kind of feels like this. It feels like that. Every day you get up, you turn on the news, it's like, it's painful. But if we are able to curate, take out the sour notes and find the good ones, then we can kind of work with it. Maybe if I work out in the morning and get my physical well-being to be more aware, maybe I have that nice cup of coffee to wake me up. Maybe I call that old friend. And your mindset shifts. But a lot of that has to do with your ability to pull out the dissonance that's rubbing you. So that's kind of a metaphorical way of looking at it.
All right, let's go to David. David Freeman, what do you want to say to Mr. Freddie Ravel?
Hey, man. You know, this is a great conversation because it's kind of hard to be able to talk about things like this in other realms where people will think you're nuts. And so what I just wrote here was, what is it about music that creates such an emotional response? I'm man enough to say that certain songs actually do bring me to tears. And even just recently, last week, I played, I saw the making of The Greatest Showman.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then there's the piece where she's singing This Is Me. And by the end of it, I'm just losing it. And is she good? Yes. But what is it about this medium that can get so deeply into one's soul to so quickly tell a story, to so quickly get in and grab me? And this happens with Hamilton and songs from there. And when I listen to Right Now by Van Halen, I mean, things that just get right in. It's huge.
Yeah.
And why does it have this power? What is it touching to make all of this come up when we're just in our day-to-day, just being who we are? A song can completely change it like that.
Yeah. First of all, to answer that question, I think we have to honor the mystery. Nobody has the complete answer to that question. There's something in your lifetimes of living, David, and your life experience that those harmonies and those lyrics trigger something for you that's a very deep, personal, subjective feeling for you. So that's me honoring the way you hear sound. But the other side of it is music is like divine mathematics. You know, there is something beautiful. We all can hear that there's structure in a major triad, right? But if I put a different note in my left hand, I don't change this, but I put a different bass in it, you have a completely different feeling. For example, wow. I mean, all I did is change the left hand. Here's the same thing. What's wrong? Something ominous is going to happen. What happened? You know, something is weird in that scene. Maybe that person's a psycho, right? It has this connotation. But if I change the bass, much more soulful. Now I want to play something like Summertime.
You know, it's interesting. You're almost not allowed to interrupt somebody while they're playing music. It's almost like you have to allow them to finish before you jump. It's like in any other conversation, it's like, no, wait, stop. And you jump in and you interrupt. But it's like, all right, hands off. You're playing music. Kind of interesting. David, take that
It
in a
is.
courtroom. Lawyers out there, take that in a courtroom going, hey, do not interrupt me while I'm playing my music.
You know, it's the whole reason that I had this desk made for me. Because for me, a lot of being able to communicate is I need the keyboard. You know, most people have the pen, the desk, the iPhone, the iPad, the computer. I've got all that, but I also have to have this close to me because I want to be able to make a point. And music allows that to happen. So for me, it's an extension of the mind and the heart.
Let's take it more into a performance space now. You said that, and we'll get Big Paul and Michael, we'll touch upon your questions in a moment. You said that you can enhance our performance with music.
So a lot of it is the way people think about music. All of us have I imagine everybody on this call has a playlist of what they like. They have songs they love, songs that make them feel like they want to climb a mountain, or they want to go work out, or they want to chill at the beach, or they want to be with someone they love, right? We all have our playlist, right?
Big Paul, Bette Midler, Barbra Streisand, that's Big Paul's.
Can't go wrong with that.
Well, that's his go-to all the time.
Can't go wrong, right? I mean, it would be good. In fact, you know, it might be nice right now, Ken, is if everybody puts maybe their 3 favorite go-tos in the chat, would be great. Just, you know, everybody just type in like maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite either song or artist that just sends you to the moon, you know? Everybody, just be free. Jump on in. Don't hold back, right? Ron Levy shared Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. What a great song, man. All You Need Is Love. Oh, yes. The Beatles, right? Oh, Human Nature. What a beautiful song. Anything Steely Dan. I'm with you, Michael. Donald Fagen, Walter Becker. Of course, Prince. Thank you, Michael. Yeah. Okay. So all of these songs have a lot of emotion and mood. Oh, I see some Led Zeppelin, Bob Marley. Oh, yeah, Steve Perry. Incredible voice, right? Ha ha ha, que sera, sera. Philip Glass is really eclectic. Wow. Mozart, Jabu. I've got something for Jabu that we can do a little bit later that'll be a little bit of Mozart in a way nobody has heard it. So we can do that. Vivaldi. Vivaldi's most famous piece is probably The Four Seasons, right? Yeah, beautiful. Great. So, and I see some Jimmy Buffett. Let's see. Jimmy Buffett is great. Rush. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you can kind of see when you see our list of metal guys and people sharing their stuff.
It's eclectic.
You know, it's eclectic. And one moment it's classical, one moment it's classic rock. Police. Thank you, Big Paul. Right. God, the Police were great. You know, 3 guys with Sting leading. Amazing. And you can hear a bit of island, you can hear some reggae, you can hear the edge of rock. And it kind of gives you a sense, this is really great. Richard, you wrote Train. Do you mean like the group Train or John Coltrane? But that's good.
The group Train.
Okay, awesome. So all these are little, and then someone got some Maroon 5 and some Pink Floyd. Right. Yeah, you can't go wrong with any of this. So all of these are kind of, most of the music I see here sets a mood. It's all about the mood, you know. ABBA's great, the vocals are great. Barry White is like, I shared the stage with Barry White many years ago before he passed away, and I don't think we're going to ever see anything like that again. He had about 100 string players. 100 string players in a rhythm section on stage going on the road. I think those days are gone. But it's great. Let's see, I want to see what Ron wrote here. If I'm wanting to make a point, I find some songwriter had said it better than I am. Quick to pull up a song on a YouTube to make that point. Great. Well, Ron, I think Ron also mentioned Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. And that's a song that, I mean, what other song could talk about hanging out with yourself better than Sitting on the Dock of the Bay? What other song can talk more about being by yourself but being in peace? Watching the times roll away, sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. You know, it's a song about letting yourself release.
Yeah, but so everything you just mentioned is expressionary. these are expressions of moments of emotion or where I'm at. It's a positioning. But I am, and Freddie, I'm treating you like anybody else that sits next to me during an interview, okay? And I'm not trying to be challenging, but I wanted to be fair. And that is, I'm going to go right after what you said. Performance. You can enhance our performance with music. How?
Okay, so and Ken, you and I, we've been friends for over a decade. I've shared with you a philosophy that you're pretty well aware of, and I shared it when I presented a medal a few weeks ago. And the methodology is very simple. And I talked about these three elements of the melody and the harmony and the rhythm. These three
But show it, because remember, people are going to watch this that are new to metal. They've never seen you. This is going to be in the archives. Show us what you're talking about.
Sure. So everyone's got a melody. I often associate personality with melody. Like, for example, you might meet people that have a very confident, big ego kind of energy. They walk into the room, right? And the songs to me that remind me of that are big, bombastic, a bit audacious, I think of something like, Frank Sinatra singing New York, New York, because it's got that energy, right? It's a very big, I'm stepping into the room, I want to be a part of it, New York, New York. If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. So this is a song that's confident, right? Then there's people that we'll all meet that are more subdued, maybe more introverted. They have melodies that are maybe like, maybe something like this, like Bach. So think of anybody that you know in your life that has that kind of elegance, understatement, right? So now that's the melody of my old friend Betty that I went to school with, or that's the big melody of my buddy Don. So now you have a reference point. Instead of just thinking of them as big ego or elegant, you're now associating them with a better mood, a better flavor. You almost have a musical energy that you've assigned to them. There's some people too that are very dramatic, I can think of a few ex-girlfriends like this. Dramatic, right?
What's Simone's music?
Oh, Simone is going to be something like girl from Ipanema, man. She's from Salvador Bahia, which is just north of that, and when she walks, she's like a samba.
That's where Nino, who's in their chat right now. Nino's in Salvador right now.
Salvador Bahia.
Yep, he's there right now. Nico.
Oh, tudo bem, tudo legal.
Oi, Fred, tudo bem?
Coração.
Always.
Always, man. Oh, I love it.
Oh, my father is saying that he loves it.
Oh, man. Brasil, tudo bem. Yeah. So
hey, let Simone unmute herself real quick and just say hello. Let's do it. Come on, Simone, come on real quick and say hello and just throw them some. Come on, Simone.
I'm looking for Simone, but I don't see her.
I see her. I'm trying to unmute her. Come on, Simone.
Simone, everyone's waiting for you. We've got people in Brazil waiting for you.
She's going away. Oh, Freddie, now we know what she's really doing. She's doing something else.
She's doing something else. Oh, well. Okay, we'll
get
her back.
Someone in China.
Yeah.
But Budabank, so we have Brazil sitting down there, right?
It's beautiful.
What's your dad's favorite song? What's your dad's favorite song?
What's his favorite song, your father?
Oh, qual é a sua música favorita?
A minha música favorita é Smile, de Charlie Chaplin.
Wow.
Freddie?
What is it?
Smile from Charlie Chaplin.
let's see that. Man, I have never played that song, but it's a very famous song. Something like this. Let's see, is it? Sorry, guys, I'm doing this on the fly.
Melhorou.
Right?
Yes.
How many, I don't know how many people on this call know that song.
Genius.
Charlie,
The music of the
Smile when your
genius.
heart is breaking, even though it is aching.
Great song.
What a great song. They don't write songs like that anymore, man.
Off the bar, how? Todas.
Yeah. Beautiful, man.
Johann Sebastian Bach.
Johann Sebastian
Todos.
Bach.
How?
Everything. Toto.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Freddie, as you just did that, first you communicated in a perfect way, right? You just connected, utilizing music. But back to performance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's good. That's good. So the point I've been driving home in this conversation is what I want to emphasize with everybody is that if you can identify certain pieces of music with people, it helps you understand them in a much more dimensional way. I've been doing this now for like a couple decades, getting in front of like really tough groups of people and getting them to see each other with musical identities and getting them to think about rhythm in a different way. And when people get rid of their ego and their agenda and start listening, that's the magic. That's what makes music the most beautiful thing is that.
look at Nino. Look what Nino's got. Nino, what do you got there?
Oh, my father got his trumpet.
Oh, let's hear some.
My package of trumpets.
Go ahead, keep playing.
Yes.
Let's jam between Brazil and Los Angeles.
Toque com esse.
Go ahead. That's Poinciana. Go ahead. Awesome.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Nino, thank you very much. Obrigado.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful tono muy bonito.
Muy bonito.
Muito obrigado.
That was so
Legal.
cool.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
This is it. In fact, I don't know of a better illustration to talk about the world's universal language than what just happened.
Right?
This is the magic of our technology and the magic of metal and Ken putting us together in a room like this where we can spontaneously have somebody thousands of miles away and we can link up on that level. So that's the thing about music. So music is unquestionably the international and undisputed language of the planet. And Ken, what I'm proposing is rather than just listening to it because it's beautiful, let's take it to the next level. Let's take it the way the melodies and the harmonies work and talk about how we can listen to each other and put it into the conversation that our world is struggling with right now. The dissonance on the streets of America, the dissonance on the streets in Asia and all over the world. And I believe that it's an amazing tool for understanding one another better. You know, that's to me is what the great opportunity is.
Do it.
You know. By the way, I want to say one thing. I see that Ken Sky is on this call, and I just want to do a quick shout out because Ken is the reason that I can speak to you and I can, talk about the world, and as I'm talking to you, I can, show you images of the world, like that, or I can do things like talk to you and still show you a slide. And the reason that is because Ken really helped me do this. So shout out to Ken Sky, who's sitting up there in Toronto, our metal brother. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Ken. Hey, Ken, you're not in Toronto. You're further than that. You're Winnipeg.
I'm in Winnipeg.
You're in Winnipeg. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you using Ecamm Live? What are you using? Ecamm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ecamm's the best tool. Great call on that.
Yeah.
And that's the key, Freddie. Now Zoom has become your production tool, which is even better.
It's amazing. And it's been, Ken has been very helpful, but what's been amazing is to be able to take an orchestra, for example, some of the videos I have, and be able to play along with the video in real time. And by the way, what we just did with your father in Brazil, I'm sorry, Nazareno, right? What we just did with your father, I've never done that in my life. Played in real time with somebody on the other side of the equator. That was pretty special. And the ability to be able to play a keyboard, press the key, and then be on the other side of the world and hear it with no delay is just phenomenal. It's a phenomenal thing, that we can actually do this, on a Zoom call. So I'm very grateful to the technology and for Ken Sky for helping me.
Yeah, there's like no latency. That's the beauty behind this.
There's no latency, and I'm just kind of here, and I wanted to address what Jabu was saying, because Jabu was saying he loves Mozart, and I have a piece at some point I'd love to share with you that is Mozart, but it's a Latin version of Mozart that I did with an orchestra. I'd love to share that with you guys at some point.
Freddie, am I going to do it again?
You want me to set that up? You want me to go ahead and play it?
Ask about performance again. I'm not giving up.
Oh, good. Okay, so here it is. So no, don't. And this is it. Like I said, when we start thinking of each other in terms of musical profile, things start to happen. Think about the disc system, for example, right? We have the dominant, the influencer, the steady, and the compliant. This has been around, 30, 40 years. All kinds of, Myers-Briggs is another one. People use these profiling systems, right? Melody, harmony, rhythm, and score could be very much like disc. But instead of calling, oh, yeah, that's a dominant personality, you could say, that's a person who really stands on the mountain and sings their melody all the time. Or there's a person who is a great harmonizer. They're great at building community. They're great at building teams. But they're not really good at singing their own melody because they're shy, they're introverted, and they don't want to. Or an S, steady. That could be like Kenny Aronoff, a drummer, who lays down the rhythm, who doesn't really stand in the spotlight, chooses to step back and support the stars. See, we all need a lead singer in our life, if we're not one. We all need a partner to harmonize with, if we don't have harmony in our life. We all need a drummer in our life to help us stay on tempo, stay on point. So what I'm trying to say, Ken, if you expand the definition of music into the needs and wants of human behavior, then it starts to become a very powerful tool. We get to venture into the world of psychology and improving performance by understand. Like some people, if they understood what their best beat is, it's a great way to start their morning. That will increase their performance,
So
right?
then talk to me about the corporate structure in music. Look at, you have operations, you have the CEO, so you have different stratas. How would you apply music to those stratas inside a business?
So to me, the CEO of the company is the one, he or she is out there singing the melody of their products.
Show us melody. Show us melody.
Well, kind of like something like that. I mean, it's big. If you're Howard Schultz and you're talking about Starbucks all day, it's a very I'm out here, I'm talking about put your heart into it, give back to the environment. It's a very positive message, right?
By itself, it's powerful, but it's tiring if it's all by itself for a while. It needs structure.
It needs the team. It needs harmony, right? So if I go, as long as you have a beat, it starts to have a drive. You know, that was on the verge of being Van Halen. You know, and all of a sudden, Howard Schultz. I'm just saying Howard Schultz. It could be Jeff Bezos. It could be Bramson. It could be whoever. But the CEO is doing that lead melody. And as long as you've got that harmony, and then you have the rhythm, driving it, all those elements do it. So getting back to your question, the CEO is the melody, the team is the harmony, and the rhythm, the rhythm are people like your project managers. They're part of your HR. They're down in the galley, you know, pushing the levers, cranking the gears, making sure that, you know, deadlines are met, third quarter profits, turn it into the results so they can keep making the product better. Harmony is going to be like customer service, right? I mean, if you have shitty customer service, no one wants to work with you. No harmony, right?
Love it.
So these are the ways that, again, so the melody's like the CEO, the lead.
Yeah, but what you're
Harmony
saying
is the team.
Right. So you need to identify in your business, your performance, you have to ask yourself if all three parts are there. And one is too pronounced, it diminishes the other, so you can't move together properly.
Right. So if your lead singer is dominating the stage and your drummer's in the back playing a puny little beat, the perception of the audience, that is the customer, will go, I don't feel it. It's really loud and bombastic, but I don't feel it, because they don't feel the rhythm. And if the rhythm is overwhelming the melody, like a really loud drummer, but the singer, you can't hear the singer, you're going to go, I don't hear the message. I don't hear the hook of the song. I hear the drums, it's got a lot of attitude, but I don't feel the message. There you go. So that's lacking the melody. And then if you have a big melody and a big drummer, but the harmony's not there, harmony is the context, the color and the feel. It's the emotion of it. If the chords are bad, then the melody sounds terrible. It doesn't matter how beautiful the melody is. And all of these lead to what I call the score.
That's it. That's what I want to do. Can you start with each one being added? So start with the message, being the CEO, add the melody, and then add the harmony and the melody, put them all together and show how it sounds. Do you understand what I'm saying? Start with individual pieces and put it together and show us how that functioning entity works then when it's all applied together. Smush it together.
That'd be great. I'm happy to do that. But what I'm thinking is why don't we have people, let's give people the notes of the scale and have people pick from the scale, and let me make this happen from, like my brother Jabu, a great artist like Jabu. I'm asking someone to give me yellow, red, purple, and green. Go ahead and type in your chat a couple of elements. Okay, Big Paul put in F sharp. There we go. Okay, someone else give me another note. It can be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's the C. Good, thank you. Someone gave me a D. So we got an F sharp, a C, and a D. I need maybe 2 or 3 more.
Like who's sweeping down the streets of the city.
Smiling at everybody she meets. Windy, right? That's right. Hey, Ken, that's good, man. Okay, ooh, D flat. Okay, I've got 4 Metal Men notes right now. Anybody else want to throw one more in there just for good measure? Anybody else? Okay, good. So here we are. So if we were saying that we built a melody on this, to me, right off the bat, it's a very soulful, bluesy sound. And it's kind of sunny. If I base it on D, the song Here Comes the Sun, Here Comes the Sun, the Beatles, one of the sunniest, most optimistic songs of all time. Metal has given me an F sharp and a D. Now, if I had a C, it's kind of bluesy. And And if I use what Harak laid on me, the D flat. So here's what I can do. A melody can be this. That could be one melody. It's kind of an interesting guitar. I hear a guitar doing that. Okay, now, this doesn't mean anything unless I put a chord in it, a harmony in it. I'm going to ask everybody, what's the mood? Do you want the mood to be sunny and optimistic? Do you want it to be dark and brooding? Or do you want it to be hopeful? I see sexy, deep and promising. Sexy, deep and promising, and mysterious and hopeful. Okay. So, I'm not going happy. I'm not going like happy. Oh, I hear sunny. Simone.
Of course, and it's from your girl.
Of course, from my girl is sunny. Smooth. Okay. So, right off the bat, when I think smooth, I don't think fast. Now I'm going to change the harmony. There we go. Something like that.
By the way, you did show some really cool stuff when we started getting together. Actually, we were at Writers Boot Camp. We're going old school metal. And what you did, it was at the Crystal Cathedral, I think.
Yeah.
Crystal Cathedral, and you synced with the video. And I thought that was one of the coolest things. Do you still do that?
I do. I do that all the time.
Can you do a music sync today?
Yeah, I could do one for you guys. I think I remember the last time we did this, we had some Santana, and we didn't get to, I'll show you one of those Crystal Cathedral ones. For those of you who are not familiar with it, there's a beautiful place down in Garden Grove, California, in Orange County, called the Crystal Cathedral. It's now a Catholic, it's been taken over by the Catholic Church. It's still a beautiful place, but for many years it was one of the most beautiful places to worship, and they had a show there called the Hour of Power. And they invited me to be on the show, and I did it about 7 times. And each time I would play 1 or 2 songs, and they had a full orchestra there. So what I'm going to show you is that setting, which looks a little bit like this.
Do you still have that suit?
Oh no, I got rid of that. The white coat. I don't think you can catch me in a tie anymore, but this was a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. It's a first take. I had no idea we were making a recording that I would play many years later. But this goes out to I know Jabu said he likes Mozart. Some of you may recognize this melody. Let me flash back to this. This is known as the Turkish March. Mozart, all right? But I decided that what would happen if we could serve Mozart a mojito? What would that be like? And I had it arranged for orchestra, and here is what it looks like.
Damn, Freddie. This is why the music guys get all the chicks. Right? Seriously. Women go, I mean, just you're a magnet. The minute you start doing that, that's it. You own us.
Thank you, man.
That was awesome, Freddie. So, Freddie, as we move to the final part of this hour, if you can teach us something that we can take with us, and it's some nuggets of wisdom applying your whole music and life connection, what would those lessons be? What certain things are takeaways for us?
I think one of the most important things is what I call the space between the notes. The space between the notes, a lot of it is when we're, all of us, everybody, you know, all our metal brothers and really all of us on the planet are really bombarded with a lot of crap all the time. And we're facing a world that has a lot of dissonance in it and has a lot of challenges in it, and there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknown. And what I would like to encourage all of us, one thing I've learned through playing music, is if you have a breath and a pause before you take the next step, as you're performing in your life, as you're going about your day, you have a moment where you take a breath to really listen and feel what's going on in the next step forward. Rather than letting your ego dominate, you will have, I think, a far more gentle journey and a place where you can make better decisions about what's next, where's the next place to go. So I like to say, may you always sing your melody, listen for harmony, dance to your rhythm, and celebrate the great score called you.
So from one artist to another artist, Jabu, what do you want to say to Freddie? Unmute yourself, buddy. Go for it, Jabu.
Yep. Freddie, thank you. Painting is much like music. So when I paint, I let the music set the tone for me. So painting the classical music was something that I did a lot. I didn't quite understand the classical music, but what I understood was when you play the notes, you can also control how you apply your paint on the canvas, how you move your brush on the canvas is like painting, and so is music.
Wow.
So I love that.
What is your playlist when you're painting? Jabu, what is your playlist when you're painting?
I have various, it depends on the theme that I'm painting. For example, the painting I have behind me is Nelson Mandela, so usually I'll play artists like Hugh Masekela, like jazz, but modern South African jazz. But if I'm doing an abstract piece, then I'll play classical music. So it depends on the theme that I'm working on at the time.
By the way, we're trying to get, we just talked to Nelson Mandela's grandson. We're trying to get him on the show, and also Black Coffee on the show also so I know Black Coffee, so it's gonna be pretty cool. So Jabu, thank you. Freddie, what is your playlist? What do you got on your Spotify? What pops up? What do you go into when you're at the gym or whatever? What is that playlist?
I love Tower of Power.
Yeah?
Tower of Power is like that's just one funky band. I was listening to Oakland Stroke and What Is Hip, and the horns are as tight as they don't make horn sections tighter than Tower of Power. And Earth, Wind, and Fire is still kicking it. They're still great. And someone mentioned some Steely Dan. I think they're amazing. As far as more contemporary artists, I think I like Ed Sheeran. I think he's cool. I like John Legend's got a lot of soul.
Freddie, you mentioned Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I tend to say that name like Stevie Wonder, and my young friends know that. But when I mention the band Chicago, they don't seem to remember Chicago. And that was horns. That was a diverse band that really did some great stuff. But for some reason, they didn't seem to have that same longevity as what Earth, Wind, and Fire had. I wonder why.
This is just my 2 cents about that. So I imagine most people on this call know who Chicago is.
Can you do a little Chicago? You got something?
Well, I've never played any of their music. Oh, you're thinking of.
Get the horn out.
Yeah.
It was the 4th
4th of July. Here's the 4th of July, right? Saturday in the Park. But they had another song called Beginnings. They had another song called 25 or 6 to 4. They had a lot of hits. They had that band had about 30 or 40 hits. What? They're amazing. They're an amazing band. But their music, and it's not a critique, I love their music. They're great. But Earth, Wind & Fire had what I call sound bites that were so juicy. And they're little nuggets that you can hang on to, you know? They're like this whole thing of, it's only 2 bars. But it's, God, it's like, body up, say do you remember? It's just catchy as, you know, it's just infectious the way that stuff sounds. So I think Earth, Wind & Fire kind of wins the prize in terms of, you know, hook, you know? It's just catchy. But Chicago is more sophisticated band musically. There's richer stuff going on, but Earth, Wind & Fire kind of wins the prize, I think, and therefore the band still is out there doing.
They were visuals. People don't know this. I mean, they got Doug Henning to do magic tricks for them.
Ken, you're going into some deep stuff with Earth, Wind & Fire. They actually consulted Doug Henning.
Yeah.
And in the early 70s, it was Madonna and Michael Jackson in the audience watching them, learning about how to pop out of a stage, or when Verdine, one of my best friends in the world, Verdine White, the bass player, would literally land, 10 stories from the ceiling of the Forum. That's when I saw them, when the Forum was a concert venue. Actually, it is again. They're made it a concert.
Just can't go. Freddie, we're going to have to leave, but I'd like you to leave us with something to take home. What do you want to do? The stage is yours. Own it.
Also, can you play what you associate Ken Rutkowski with? I would love to hear Ken's song.
Oh, what I associate Ken with?
Yes.
Oh, God, that throws an entire new array of things in it. When I think of Ken, I can start from the top of the key, and I can start from the lowest key. And I can come in because Ken plays every key on the piano. That's why he can do what he does. But then when he does, he can land on different chords. Sometimes they're emotional. Sometimes they're glorious. And sometimes they're mysterious. And sometimes they're soulful. Because he's from Chicago, you know. And Chicago's known for the blues and horn bands.
I'll own that. I'll take that. Thank you for that, Freddie.
Oh, thank you.
Well, Freddie, come on. Last couple of minutes, all yours. We're going to sit back. Take us somewhere.
All right. Let's see.
All yours.
I always like to do things that I'm going to finish off with water, because water was what we started with, and we talked about elements. And there's a poem that I wrote a long time ago. I've shared it a couple times with Metal, I think at your place once, Ken. But it's the idea that music is the great invitation for mankind to transcend spoken word, to enhance how we think and put into sync so we hear what is mostly not heard. That's the idea. So with that,
Can everybody please unmute themselves and thank Freddie? Please.
Amazing.
Wow.
Thank you,
that was
Freddie.
amazing.
Hey, great job, man.
Somebody pass a towel.
Great job, Freddie.
Big call.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Thank you.